Hi, this is Robin Young, school librarian at Avon High School, and today we're going to be talking about images and copyright use. Throughout the discussion, you're going to be learning about copyright law, describing what fair use is and learning the 4 examples of that, talking about using your own photos and also posting them online. You're going to learn about what a Creative Commons license is and learn how to cite your images. Here we have a picture taken by one of our digital photography students, and great, interesting picture, but we have to look at that and say, is that okay for us to use in whatever we want to make with it? Is it okay for us to post it? Is it okay for us to put it online? And if you're using it just like the image is, that's not okay to use because we've got some crucial missing features there. And that is that we haven't put that we've used it with permission, and we haven't put the author's name and where the author's located. And so if we've got an image, we always want to make sure we do that, and we've checked to make sure we have permission to do so. So we have another image here, a great picture. Really like this. I'm excited to see what was in the bowl actually. But that's not how we do that, and that's not how we cite our pictures. So again, we're going to make sure that we're using it with permission. We're going to put the student's name there, and we're going to put where the student or where the image came from. So we might think, why do we have to have copyright law? Why is that an important thing? And it really protects the creator of the work. If you have an image that you've created, that you've worked hard on, you don't want everyone to just take it from you, and that's what our copyright laws protect from. It's important that we give full credit and full rights for your accomplishments. So if you've got a great picture, we want to make sure you get credit for that. Someone who wants to use your work must seek your permission first. So we've got to ask if it's okay for that to be used. And then anyone using that work can't say, hey, this is my own work. I want it, I did it, if you really didn't do that. So again, we've got that kind of plagiarism issue there. Additionally, if someone takes your work, our copyright laws gives the owner the right to take that person to court for a copyright infringement. And full disclosure, I'd like to say thank you to Mrs. Lyons for allowing me to use this portion of a presentation she had created. So let's talk about fair use and what that means. That might be a term that you'll hear, especially as you start producing your own photographs, publishing them online, using other people's, and we want to make sure we're giving credit. So fair use, we have to look at what is the purpose of the use. In our case, we're mostly using our work for educational purposes, and many times for an educational purpose that does meet one of the criteria for fair use. So we have to look at that. We have to ask, what is the nature of the work? And what that means is, has it been published anyplace else? Is somebody already using it in another location? That's an important thing to ask to determine if we can use that. We also have to ask how much of the work is used. So if I take an image from the internet, and maybe I'm only using a very small portion of that, that would make it that I'm more compliant with fair use than if I'm using the whole work in its entirety. And we also have to look at what's the effect of the use on the marketplace. Are you going to make money off of somebody else's work? If that's the case, then it's really not fair use and we're not allowed to use it. Are you using an image in a school presentation where you're not going to make any money and it's just going to go to your teacher? Then it's much more likely that you should be able to use an image and it would fall under fair use. I bring fair use up just so that you've heard that term before, and that's usually how we determine whether we're allowed to use something or we're not allowed to use something. Since we are in a school, that does help us a lot, again, because that tells us the purpose of the use, and we're usually not going to make money off of it, so we can meet the criteria of fair use. Now with your own photographs, we've got a great picture here that you see, and as you're taking pictures of people, you need to get permission. And that's especially if you've got taking pictures of people. You've got to make sure they know what you're going to do with the work. So here we have a picture of a person. Does that person know that that image is going to be placed online or placed in a class or sold for resale? Those are things that we have to make sure that we know about and getting permission. You also want to make sure that you avoid pictures of famous people. There is an expectation of privacy for all people, especially people who are in private situations. And so if people don't know you're taking the picture, you cannot post those images online. That can be a violation of copyright also. Here's a strange thing too. If you're taking pictures of buildings, buildings built after 1990 are actually copyrighted. So if you take a picture of the building as a whole, where you're just focusing on the building itself, that can be a copyright issue. If you are taking a small portion of it, remember we talked about in fair use, how much of the work are you using? Let's say you found one portion of a building really intriguing and you want to take a picture of that, that is going to be a little more likely. When you post online, an image is copyrighted. That's automatic. If you've taken the picture, if you're posting it, make sure that you post your information as well. Put your name on there. Tell the location of the photo. Tell when it was taken, and show that you have permissions to use it. Either if it's a picture of a person or a building, make sure that you've got permissions to post that image. And that is important, that you realize that any work that you put up there is also copyrighted. So it's an automatic thing. We don't have to request copyright permissions from anywhere like they used to. If it's online, it's copyrighted, so you've got to make sure that you're using that information properly and using that image properly. There is such a thing called a Creative Commons license, and you can look up Creative Commons, and what that does is it allows you to give it a license, but allows other people to use it. So let's say you think it would be really great to put your picture online and have other people use it in different ways. By having a Creative Commons license, you can say, hey, yes, people can use it. Hey, people can use it for commercial purposes, meaning they can make money off of it. You can have people modify it so they can take your image and put it into Photoshop and change what your image is. But again, an important part of this is that you always want to make sure that people are attributing that original image to you. And so that Creative Commons license allows us to do that. When we talk about images of people, an image like this, a crowd shot, is not going to be as copyright protected as an image like this. There's my image, where you have one specific person. Now for me, it maybe doesn't make as big of a deal because I'm not a famous person and I didn't have an expectation of privacy when this picture was taken. But if somebody used that photo online in some way, I would want them to have my permission for it. So again, if we're using a large crowd shot, you don't have to get individual permission from people, but if you're taking a picture like that, you will have to get that permissions. When we cite images, we want to make sure that we are giving our complete information, as you can see there. I have gone into BIBME, BIBME.org, and if you go into an Other tab, there is a place where you can put photograph information, and this completes the citation for you. What I do see a lot of is I see a citation like this of an image. And first of all, it's citing Google as a source, which there's nothing in Google. Google just takes you to other images. But we want to make sure that you're not citing sources like this. It might get you back to the picture, but it is not a proper citation. If in doubt, there are a lot of sites that allow you to use copyright-free images, and those are great. So you can see here we've got Wikimedia Commons, Stock Exchange, Getty Images, Flickr, Creative Commons has images in it, and public domain images. And people who post images there allow you, and again, you'll have to check the permissions to make sure that's correct, but they allow you to use their images for school projects and different things like that. Usually they don't allow you to make money off of it unless they've given you specific permissions, but those are great places to go to for copyright-free images. And you use them freely as long as you credit the source, and you can also find them on my library webpage under the Apps section, and then there's a section labeled Pictures. There's the BIBME information where I talked about how you get to that. There's my Works Cited page, so you can see where I got all of my images, and I hope this helps you in learning about photography and images and copyright law. Thank you.